Imagine yourself standing in the middle of a Middle Eastern desert, the ground dry and slightly cracked. There is no one else around for miles. You are the only person in this desert. This is an astral desert, a sacred space that you are going to in your mind. No one can join you or intrude upon you, except for King Paimon himself. The air around you is warm. The sun is shining off in a distance, beating down upon you, making your skin feel very warm, relaxed, comfortable. In front of you, there is a pyramid made out of light tan stones. A pyramid very similar to the pyramids of Giza, but much smaller. This pyramid is only about 14 feet tall. On each side of this pyramid, there is a palm tree leaning slightly towards the pyramid as if they are facing toward it to form a complete arch out of both palm trees, with the pyramid sitting in the middle of the two. Also, on each side of this pyramid, there are two stone columns in the same color as the pyramid, a beautiful sandy light tan color. Columns very similar to those in a Greek or Roman temple. And in between each one of these columns, there is a torch with bright orange fire that is blazing, swaying back and forth with a very, very light breeze of wind that is blowing all around you. The pyramid is set up almost like it is a temple of sorts in and of itself. In front of this pyramid, you see a royal throne, but it's not just any throne. It's not made of gold or metal or anything normal. This particular throne is made of living snakes, serpents of various colors, sizes, shapes, both venomous and non-venomous, pythons, mambas, anacondas, rattlesnakes, coral snakes, copperheads, every kind of snake you could imagine, wrapped around each other, tangled and twined together, forming the shape of a chair, which is King Paimon's very throne that he sits upon. The snakes are under his command, powered by the aspect of the serpent which he associates with. King Paimon is the serpent, Therefore the serpents obey him, working together to form the very throne upon which his royal majesty sits. The snakes are very still, wiggling just enough to let you know that they're alive. At the very front of the chair, on both sides, there are two gigantic cobras, king cobras. These two cobras form the armrest that King Paimon lays his hands upon when he sits in this throne. However, these cobras are made of solid gold. They are still very much alive, but they are golden, unlike the other snakes, as the cobra is the snake that King Paimon associates with his royalty. After observing the chair, you look forward at the pyramid temple once more. Off in the distance, far beyond this pyramid, you can see a shape starting to emerge, as if something is slowly moving towards you. As it begins to approach you, getting closer and closer, you see something that looks like an animal. And sitting upon this animal, a person. At this point, you cannot tell exactly what that animal is or who this person is. All you know is that this person is getting closer every few seconds, watching as their shape becomes larger and larger the closer that they become. This shape is also slightly warped, making it more difficult to see what it is because of the extreme desert heat that is waving around in front of it, almost making you think it's a mirage and that it's not real. But it is very real, for it is King Paimon himself. He is now close enough that you can tell the shape of the animal you saw. It's not a horse, it's a camel. A beautiful brown camel with a red cloth made out of silk, wedged in between the two humps on the camel's back. This red silk cloth lined all the way around with golden tassels. Sitting upon this red silk cloth on the camel's back, in between the two humps, is King Paimon, who appears in a humanoid form, looking like a tall, skinny, Middle Eastern male with beautiful, light, honey-colored skin, wearing a red, silky robe, which appears to be a full-body gown, but it's not. It's a robe. And King Paimon also has a hood on top of his head that is connected to the robe which he wears. His eyes are not human, though. His eyes are made of pure white, glowing fire, looking as if his eyes are the very sun itself, as if he has taken two burning hot white suns, shrunk them down to size, and those are his eyes. They are very hypnotic. When you gaze into them, you almost can't look away, as you are allured by his beauty, his mystery, and by the very sophisticated and respectful way that he maintains his composure. King Paimon sits up very straight on this camel. He does not hunch, he does not slump. He sits straight up in an attempt to display his pride. The pride that he has for holding the title of king, a demonic king of the infernal realm. King Paimon is now behind the pyramid temple. that sits in front of you. Slowly coming out from behind it, his camel turns to the side for just a brief moment, and you can see that the red silk cloth upon which he sits has his sigil monogrammed on it in solid gold thread, like an emblem. As King Paimon is a perfectionist, he calls himself an artist and says that everything he does must be done with absolute perfection. These overly detailed aspects are but a display of his sophisticated perfection, as King Paimon spares no expense when it comes to displays of artistic talents. He is now fully emerged from behind the pyramid, turning around the corner. His camel is now standing in front of the palm tree on the left side of this pyramid. King Paimon stops and looks directly at you, as if acknowledging your presence there with him. Before doing anything else, King Paimon stares at you for what seems like a couple of minutes, as this is his way of scoping you out, reading your mind, getting to know you, trying to find out who you are, and trying to make sure that he will be safe in your presence. Just then, you see 2 demonic spirits appear, one on each side of King Paimon, who was still sitting on top of his camel. These 2 demonic spirits are King Paimon's familiars, protectors that serve him to keep him safely guarded. These 2 demonic spirits are so tall that the top of their heads line up with the top of King Paimon's head while he is still sitting on top of this camel. These 2 spirits are about 9 feet tall, very muscular, big and bulky. Each one has a set of massive horns on top of his head that point upward in a curve-like fashion. Their facial features are masculine, dominant, and strong. These 2 spirits look like a force to be reckoned with, as they are there to serve and protect King Paimon. Each one of these spirits is dressed just as well as King Paimon himself, as King Paimon would not allow any spirit that serves him to manifest alongside of him without maintaining the same professional and sophisticated appearance that he maintains himself. King Paimon is very stern about details like this. The 2 spirits are wearing outfits made out of a white silk, similar to the silk that Paimon's robe is made out of, except theirs is white. Their outfits actually look similar to that of a genie. Big baggy pants with waistbands made of a metallic gold colored material, and matching white vests that are also lined in a metallic gold material. These 2 demons approach you, standing right in front of you, one to the left, one to the right. They look down at you as if scoping you out, trying to make sure that you will not be a threat to His Majesty. After scoping you out, these 2 demons turn their heads toward King Paimon and nod as if giving him the go-ahead. King Paimon slowly steps down off of his camel, now standing on the ground. He walks over to his throne, made of the intertwined snakes. At the exact moment that he takes a seat on this throne, every single snake that comprises that chair immediately stops wiggling and becomes silent, as if they are becoming submissive to him out of respect for him. King Paimon lifts both of his arms and places his hands on top of the two golden cobras that his armrests are made out of. The instant his fingertips touch the tops of the cobra's heads, the cobra's eyes light up in a fiery, glowing red color, as if his chair has now come to life, even more so than it was before, responding to his very presence there in it. Then suddenly, the ground around the entire throne erupts in these beautiful golden white flames, as if King Paimon's presence have summoned the very flames of hell to him, surrounding his chair, as if acting as another form of protection for him, acting as a form of comfort, so he can be surrounded by beautiful fire which he is used to being around. The fire itself is also at his command. These flames that are only about 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall, immediately respond when King Paimon raises his right hand, as if commanding the flames to grow higher. And just then, the flames grow to about 4 feet tall. His eyes respond to these flames, as if his eyes are made out of the same flames that surround his throne, growing in brightness and intensity. You cannot help but look at him, look into his eyes, as if you are lured by them, enchanted by them. Your eyes fixated on his, you simply cannot look away. You want to peer into them deeper, as if you are connecting with his very soul and he is connecting with yours. Once more, King Paimon raises his right hand and motions his fingers at you, as if signaling to you that he wants you to approach him, giving you the go-ahead to come closer to his throne. You move closer to him, as he has asked you to do. But you don't get too close to his throne. As you look to each side, the left and the right, and you realize that his two familiars are standing right next to his throne, one on each side, and you just know that they will not allow you to get too close to him unless he approves it. As you approach his throne, standing in front of King Paimon, he stands up and actually walks towards you as if he trusts you. He extends his left hand out to you, prompting you to shake his hand so that you can introduce yourself to him. You shake King Paimon's hand. You say hello to him. You greet him as King Paimon, the Infernal Majesty. And you introduce yourself, telling King Paimon your name out of courtesy and respect. After King Paimon shakes your hand, he turns around and walks back to his throne and sits down upon it once more. You take a few steps back while remaining standing, and then you begin to speak to King Paimon, asking him a question that's on your mind. A question about yourself, your past, your present, your future. A question about your magical ascension. A question about him. It could be a question of any nature. Just ask him a question that you really want to know the answer to, as King Paimon is able to foretell the future, and he can see into the past as well. King Paimon is a seer of knowledge and events to come. You ask him this question and then fall silent, giving him an opportunity to answer this question for you. You sit around for a couple of minutes, trying to see if any thoughts, visuals, voices, or other impressions come to mind. Keeping in mind that King Paimon is a spirit, so any communication he has with you will be telepathic. You don't see his lips move. It's as if he's not even speaking to you, when in fact he is. He will speak to you with his mind, and you will hear him with your mind. Spirits do not need to move their lips when they talk, the same way that a human would. Every communication you have with King Paimon is strictly astral, strictly telepathic. As remember, King Paimon can read your mind, therefore he can link to it and speak to you inside of your own mind. If you can actually hear King Paimon speaking to you, continue to have a conversation with him. Remain fixated on the image of him sitting upon his throne of living snakes, speaking to you. Talk to him for as long as you need to, and then write everything down once you awaken from your meditation. If you cannot hear King Paimon, wait a couple of minutes, still focusing on his infernal majesty sitting upon his throne, and then you will dismiss him by saying nothing more than, "Thank you for your time, Your Majesty." King Paimon will know that this is your way of politely and respectfully telling him that he is dismissed. Once more, King Paimon stands, leaving his throne, extending his left hand out to you. The two of you shake hands a second time. King Paimon returns to his throne, sits down, and stares at you, waiting for you to leave first. At this point, you will open your eyes. Your visual is now over.